Hello there. I am Alice John O.J. Mozon Jr., and I am a native born and raised in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, which means that I was born surrounded by all the buildings and monuments and museums that told the story of America, land of the free, home of the brave, with liberty and justice for all. But I tell you, sometimes justice was hard to find. Like my parents, they were both school teachers, and they were able to buy a home in Northwest D.C. But as we moved in, many of the young white families with children moved away. It was called white flight. And pretty soon, Washington, D.C. had a demographic of mostly African Americans, and we called it the Chocolate City, surrounded by the vanilla suburbs. But our next door neighbors was an elderly couple, German immigrants, Joseph Paps and Martha. And my daddy, Deacon Mozon, was going to make sure that we were good neighbors with the Paps. So that meant that I got a chance to do good neighborly things like mow his lawn and shovel his snow. And then on weekends, they would take my grandmother with them to go way to the other side of town in order to shop at the old street outdoor market. And then coming back, they would always stop at the cemetery to visit Mr. Pap's first wife. In the grave, he'd sit there in the tombstone talking to his first wife while his second wife was in the car with my grandmother. But they became good friends. I think that was a little bit of justice. Well, things weren't always good in America at that time. The civil rights movement was going on, and we soon heard that the great march for jobs and justice was coming to Washington, D.C. And my parents decided to take me. My daddy, he carried a sign that said, "I am a man," as he marched with the Washington Teachers Union. And my mother took me down there to witness this and to be there when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave that great "I Have a Dream" speech. Yes, indeed, I was there. And I remember it was hot. And I remember there were people in the reflecting pool. And Daddy never let us get into reflecting pool. Where's the justice in that? Well, after that great march and the great speech, we thought justice was coming. And things got a little bit better. They changed the rules and we could travel. So one time my family traveled from D.C. all the way across country to California. And we thought that white people were so nice because every time we got to the Holiday Inn or whatever the hotel was, they would always tell their children, "Johnny, get out the pool now. Let them have it." Well, at that time, I thought that was justice, but that was prejudice. Blech. But we had the pool, so maybe that was justice. We had the pools to ourselves going across country. Now, a few years later, Dr. King was assassinated, and the riots broke out in Washington, D.C. Stores were burning. Looting was going on. And then there was a knock at our door, and there was Mr. Paps, our next door neighbor, saying, "Mr. Mozon, my friends out in the suburbs say that if I put Soul Brother on my house, they won't burn my house down." So my daddy told me to take care of it. So I got my glass wax, a little pink lotion, and I wrote SOULBROTHA. So, brother. I put that right on the window, just I did. And then I went to my daddy and I said, "Daddy," because you could talk to my father as long as you did what you said. Do first. Obedience was always necessary. I said, Daddy, that was not just. They killed Dr. King. And now you made me write soul brother on a white man's door. And my daddy looked at me in that very smooth, authoritative voice of his, and he said, son, that's what Dr. King would want you to do. And I always remember that. And I said, I will continue to strive for justice when it's not happening. And I thought it had happened. I thought it would happen. But here we are in 2020. And we're still marching in America and all over the world because racial equality has not come yet. Justice and freedom for all is not here yet. Even though I had served in the U.S. military and the U.S. Navy, where I swore to protect and defend and support the Constitution of the United States against enemies foreign and domestic. But still, justice will come. We will work. We will tell stories. We will share. We will care. And one day, justice will be ours. And we will be so glad and so ashamed that it took us so long for liberty and justice to come to all. This is OJ. I'm out. God bless you real good.